music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the play. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Machine Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Whoops. Hello. Welcome to the Pun Show. Just realized I was on mute and talking to myself. Hi, Harry. How you doing? How's everybody else doing? Sorry I have not been around the last couple of days. I've just been trying to do some stuff and life has been a bit chaotic the last couple of weeks. But starting to get things ironed out now. So anyway, how are you guys doing? I'm ready for Trump supporters to admit they were wrong. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm ready for it. I mean, come on. At some point, you got to admit you're wrong, right? You were just taken. He duped you. You can admit it. Do you see what the stock market is down to? Dow Jones is now. Let's see if it's gone down since. It's down to 45,553. The highest it had under Joe Biden was like 45,014. So it's almost back down to where it was when Trump took office. It's not doing well. And it's going down further. How's oil? How's oil doing? Is it back over up in the triple digits? Crude oil price is right now $98.60. That's pretty awesome. How about the price of gas? What's the average price of gas right now? I think it was $3.91 per gallon. 391.2 cents per gallon nationwide. So, and then what we've got fewer jobs than when Trump took office. Price of gas is $1 more than when he took office. Inflation is about to go through the roof. Was 2.4%, but that was before. That doesn't include all this Iran war stuff. And other things are going to compound that. And he was no new wars, and now we're up to like, how many new wars? Of course, they're not wars because Congress hasn't declared war. Of course, Joe Biden didn't declare any wars either, but somehow wars that America wasn't even fighting were his fault. So, yeah. Are you ready to admit you were wrong yet, MAGA? Because if you want to just admit you were wrong, I'll give you your out. Here's your chance. Because none of the stuff he said he was going to get the deficit in order, well, I don't think that's happening. What's the national debt up to? National debt is up to 39 trillion. So just crossed 39 trillion. Yeah, so Don't think he's getting that under control. What was the national deficit? We're around almost up to a $2 trillion deficit, which is only going to get worse with this war. So what you're just going to hang your hat on? Well, at least he's deporting 5-year-olds, those dangerous 5-year-olds. Oil is still $1 less than when. Okay, what was? When Biden left office, the price of oil was in the mid-70s. Are you using like the highest it got while he was president? Are you also going to ignore that it went down? Or are you going to ignore that had something that had nothing to do with Biden? Mr. What are you lying about today? I'm not lying about anything. Trump is asking for $200 billion. Oh yeah, additional funds for his illegal war. Biden spent something like $184 billion for the entire 4 years of his term. Oil lies, that's all you do is spread lies. It's $1 cheaper than when Biden was. It's not cheaper than when Biden left office. It's not. It's not, dude. It's not. And it doesn't have anything to do with Biden. All right. They'll never admit it. MAGA admit they're wrong. That would be the most comedic thing I've ever seen. WHO, World Health Organization, is preparing for nuclear conflict. They don't believe anything. They're not getting fed. I mean, this one guy, like, okay. Actually, the highest it went under Biden was 114.38. That was very short-lived. It was around 100 for a couple of months, and that's right when the gas prices went up. And he got all the blame for all of that by the right, even though didn't have anything to do with him. Putin invaded Ukraine. That's what caused that. The deficit, $2 trillion. How are you going to pay that back? Well, we're not going to. Our grandchildren and children will, while they're trying to struggle through global warming. Chuck Norris is dead. Yeah. Turns out he wasn't as tough as he thought he was. I was $5 for less than 2 weeks because of the Ukraine situation, which is why he opened up the Federal Reserves, right? And it's like all those things, like Donald Trump opened up the Federal Reserves, right? And then the people that complained about Joe Biden opening the Federal Reserves aren't complaining about Donald Trump opening them. Joe Biden didn't actually start a war that caused it. China are letting the U.S. spend itself into oblivion eventually. Your ridiculous amounts of borrowing will bite you in the ass. We need to, and especially, we're not even borrowing to make ourselves better. We're just borrowing money to give to more rich people. Trump needs to be impeached. They said, oh, hey, by the way, if you are new here and you haven't done so yet and would like to, then I encourage you to click that like and subscribe button. Brett's usually the one that reminds me to do this. I'm very terrible at reminding people to click like and subscribe, so I'm going to just do that right now. They said if the things keep going the way they are, oil will reach 200 to 250 a barrel. That's scary. I hope something turns around. I haven't heard that much, but I've heard like into the 160s or something. It's gone up a dollar a gallon. The price of gas has gone up $1 a gallon just in the last month. It's not going to, nothing's going to change that over the next month. We're going to be getting record gas prices before May. And that I wouldn't be surprised if we hit them in mid-April. Trump has taken Americans back to the Stone Age, and the country has lost all its credibility in the world. Nobody wants to make a deal with this anymore. That's absolutely right. Nobody. Like if you like, just say you're doing you're at a car, you're at a dealership and you're going to buy a car. All right, and then you see this dealer, this car salesman, reach deals with 3 different people. And every one of them, he's like, you get this and this and this. And then they all get to signing the paperwork and nothing in there is promised. And they're paying more than what he said they would. And he just wants to keep changing the terms of the deal. You wouldn't want to do business with that car dealer. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. He keeps trying to the deals with Canada and Mexico that he complains about. He's the one that made those deals. Why would anybody trust us? Yeah, I think they're going boots on the ground on the island, and I think there is going to be people killed. And then we're going to be told to support our presidents in times of war and all of that kind of stuff. I agree Trump needs to be impeached. I just don't know if anybody's going to do it that can. They said if things keep going the way we are. Okay, yeah, so I've already read. Trump has taken Americans back. Okay, Hey, Mouses, how you doing today? I just realized that's you. I'm telling you, my man, my tinfoil hat theory is he's trying to reset the country on the 4th of July. He's trying to make money off of it. That birthday parade was a practice run for celebrating America's 250th birthday executive order. Pumps in Japan are running out. Oh, did you catch that yesterday, Brett? He asked the Prime Minister of Japan why she didn't warn him before Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that was such a presidential thing to do. Mostly we're borrowing money to give to the tamales. What do you mean give to the tamales? I don't understand. Who are the tamales? Yeah, if we're MAGA and if you're MAGA and you click the like button, your algorithm will bring more of your kind into hate or whatever it's called to this channel. As long as your hate is not racist, I welcome it. Price of gas went up over 150 in 2 weeks here. Wow. I'm just going by the national average. It's up. A national average is $1. I'm glad I know how to build e-bikes. I have a 60 amp hour battery ready to go. That's a good 100 miles an hour. Good 100 miles. I've got my my Nissan Leaf. I'm glad I have an electric car right now. It's like I save the car payment every time I drive somewhere. Donald Trump is so bad that even the AfD in Germany have denounced their relationship with Trump. So has Nigel Farage. So has the Dutch guy. So has the Italian. Even like some of the right-wing nut jobs over here. The no new wars, the ones that are mad about it. I think Nick Fuentes has bailed on him, Tucker Carlson. Like, you guys have completely screwed yourselves when it comes to all of your allies in Europe. I know, and it was the first time you guys were like ready to go, okay, You got Biden back in there. We can, we understand you just got drunk and did something stupid. We're willing to let it go. We're willing to let it slide this one time. And then he got reelected, and now and he's like even worse. And you guys are just like, screw it. You guys aren't worth it, or you're telling us we're not worth it. And you can't even bank on an electric car bailing you out of gas prices because of all the places with the rare earth minerals are under China, Russia, and South African control. Well, all I need is to plug my car in at home. As long as I have electricity here, I'm fine. America and Americans are extremely ignorant of how the world works. You have been very insulated with two oceans on either side. Imagine what would happen if the USA was landlocked. We are not the sharpest tools in the shed. You're an idiot. Thank you. I commend you on getting your right. Are you talking to me? So anyway, you're like in the top 2% of MAGAs there, if that's what you are. Because you spell your right. If you're a bot, I like your bot. Doing okay. Travel day, so pickering around. Pitking. Pitking. I haven't heard that word before. I've heard like putzing around, pitking around. Is that like putzing mouse? Where's that from? That sounds like a regional idiom or something. I don't know if the first message got blocked by YouTube. I'll try it again. Bro, I really like your message. A little while ago, the Pentagon is sending 3 warships and thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East, roughly 2,200 to 2,500 Marines. Yeah, it's to take the island. Nobody's like, wondering about that. And if some of them get killed, they'll blame Biden. Hi there. I like your little lollipop, kitty. Do you do remember from 2 years ago you helped with my... I helped you with your groceries. I helped you with your groceries? All I hear is complaints and complaints. But when those EBT cards come, maybe they should try a job app. George, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What is this? Are you suggesting that everybody that's like upset about the gas prices is on Snap and not working? Like, that would be a really, really dumb thing to say, George. I mean, that would be an obscenely stupid thing to say. It would be even dumber if you actually meant it. Was that what you think, George? Do you really think that only unemployed people that collect SNAP benefits are complaining about the price of gas right now? Was that true under Biden too, or is that just true now? Any tips how to skip school tomorrow? No, I just say just don't go. Just don't go. What are they going to do? Send out somebody on a Saturday to pick you up? I hope you get your card. Maybe you'll be able to afford a profile picture. I hope so. Good luck, buddy. Do you think it should be illegal for blacks to use the N-word? It's our word. Look up who the EO, the expanded powers are abroad. Undefined and intend to force all real patriots to attend. Are you talking about for the thingamajig, the 250th birthday? Oh, I meant for the people who need to buy new cars. Gotcha. I forgot. It ran down. I ran down an F-35. They've identified the heat signature, and they're already sharing it with their allies. So the F-35, as far as stealth goes, it is finished. But you can't see it if you're flying right next to it, Brett. Didn't you know that? I ran so far away. Yep, piddling is like putzing, southwest U.S. Iran got clapped. Don't know what that means. Did you just farted? I did not just fart. Your light or unique and wise screwed trades trolls. Hope you have a great weekend. I hope you do too. Hope everyone does, even the haters. Trump just made Putin extremely powerful with USA warring with Iran. Israel played USA like a flute. How does everybody feel about the USA rewarding Russia for helping Iran kill our troops? Trump is the greatest president of this era. Based on what, John? It's always you notice whenever they do this, best of our area, there is absolutely no substance at all behind it. You know, like Barack Obama literally led us out of the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and basically pulled us out of the one war and almost out of the other war. There were some other national crises like the Libya thing, but he navigated us through. I think Bill Clinton, you know, and if you hate peace and prosperity, then I can see why you would hate President Clinton. I think Clinton did an amazing job. When Joe Biden took office, we were in the midst of our worst pandemic since the Spanish flu, the worst civil crisis since the 60s, and the voting, you know, with the Voting Rights Act and everything, and all that went with that. And we had our worst recession since the Great Recession. Like, Joe Biden pulled us out of a whole bunch of crap. I mean, all we ever do is pick up Republican failures and repair the country, which is what we're going to have to do again. But sure. Donald Trump is the greatest president of our era based on whatever made up nonsense you've got. If you have school on Saturday, it's probably detention. I would skip that. But then you would miss one of the greatest movies of all time. I don't know why. Dubai is finished. Sometimes it's better to sell than to buy. Get it? To sell than to buy. All right, that one was weak. The British F-35 sat in India on its airport tarmac in rain for 2 months after it was hacked by the Indian defense system and IT prowess. I don't know what all that's about. Oh yeah, I forgot. Trump thinks the plane is actually invisible, like Wonder Woman's jet. He really said you can't see it if you're right next to it. Hang on. Here you go. I don't really have any slideshows or anything, so I'm just winging this whole thing. So I might as well go ahead and do this.
Defense spending in the $1.3 trillion budget bill, Donald Trump described the impressive capabilities of the F-35 fighter jet.
90 F-35 aircraft, that's the most sophisticated aircraft in the world, jet fighters, total stealth. They're hard to find, they're hard to see, therefore they're hard to beat. It's very tough to beat a plane when you can't see it.
Okay, but Trump didn't mean you literally can't see it, right? I mean, he can't think it's actually invisible, right? Well, that's thing 2 in 60 seconds. The F-35 stealth fighter jet is undetectable by radar. So when Trump says you can't see it, clearly he means on radar, right? Well, here he was yesterday when he misidentified Lockheed Martin CEO Marilyn Houston as Marilyn Lockheed.
I may ask Marilyn Lockheed, the leading woman's business executive in this country, according to many. And we buy billions and billions of dollars worth of that beautiful F-35. It's stealth. You cannot see it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Better be correct, right?
But wait, let's try to give this a charitable interpretation. Trump cannot possibly be saying you literally can't see it.
How do they do in fights with the F-35? Said, we do very well. You can't see it. You can't see it. So it's hard to fight a plane that you can't see, right?
Sure, we like that.
But that's an expensive plane that you can't see.
Well, alrighty then, you literally cannot see it. Kind of like a Star Trek cloaking device, which was actually Romulan technology that the Federation used from time to time. Or maybe Trump was thinking about Wonder Woman's invisible plane. But you wouldn't want to have visible people inside the invisible plane, now would you? Defeats the purpose. Whatever the case, the F-35 is almost like an invisible fighter, almost.
In particular, the F-35 fighter jet, which is, almost like an invisible fighter. I was asking the Air Force guys, I said, how good is this plane? They said, well, sir, you can't see it. I said, yeah, but in a fight, a fight like I watch on the movies, the fight, they're fighting. How good is it? They say, well, it wins every time because the enemy cannot see it. Even if it's right next to it, it can't see it. I said, that helps. I don't know. That's a good thing.
So yeah, it's true. He really is that dumb. Doesn't MAGA have search? They don't believe anything that says they're wrong because then it's just biased liberal media stuff. Sounds like fake propaganda as opposed to real propaganda. I don't know. I mean, he said it a lot of times. A lot of speculation about the F-35 without breaking any laws. The IR signature of the F-35 is known by the Air Force, and there is something in the works to mitigate it. What numbers? We're in a global recession accelerating so fast it's outpacing 2008. But tell me, what is your favorite action, Joe Biden? There were lots of them. The COVID recovery, getting the vaccines out, the Infrastructure Act, like there's a whole bunch of things. I'm not here to like play little monkey to your little puppeteering action. Go ahead and look it up. Well, Obama brought us out of a recession. I don't know what else there is to add to that. Sharing heat signatures allows. There was also this whole thing called the Affordable Care Act, where he got a whole tens of millions of people health insurance who didn't have it. Sharing heat signatures allows Iran to program missiles to bypass stealth aspect. It's literally like a thumbprint. The deficit left by Reagan and Bush. No amount of countermeasures can stop all that. The technology was supposed to be for a big conflict, not this. The stealth is ruined now. There's no surprise. Man, that would suck if that's true. If Trump could be a furry, what would the first thing that comes to mind is, no offense to Otto, but hang on. Otto the orange, maybe, because it's fat and orange, but it's a little too happy looking to be Trump. Maybe like an uglier version of Otto. We're not here to play sea lion to your 20 questions, Chuck. Or just if you have something to say, say it. But asking all these questions is just getting annoying. Where you're not here to direct the conversation, you're here to participate in it. If you have something to say, feel free to say it. But sitting there doing this, name one thing, blah blah blah. Yeah, you can go somewhere else with that. Trump is talking down some very bad people. Okay, Trump is a very bad person, and yes, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the way he's doing it. I have a problem with any president ever just deciding unilaterally that other leaders are bad people and determining on their own that they're going to go and do something. That is not the way the Constitution is supposed to work. If he's that bad, if it was that worth it, then take it to Congress and get congressional approval. You would have a problem with it if it were anybody but Trump. But yeah, you don't get to do that. That's not the way the Constitution is written. That's not the way it works. If he had valid reason, then he should do it. He literally went around telling people to inject bleach into their arm to cure COVID. It's curled up sleeping. Trump's Farazna. Oh, there you go. I was thinking on the next No Kings protest. I want to try and see if I can get like an inflatable male deer. And then I can go as stagflation. Get it? I used to date a fox. My wife is a fox. Can you reference? Blame Obama for the war. Yeah, it's Obama's fault. Dude, if MSNBC is broadcasting what Donald Trump said, and it's Donald Trump's own actual words, it does not mean that he didn't say them. You can't just say, oh, MSNBC. It doesn't change actual reality. He actually said those things. MSNBC doesn't have anything to do with it. You can't see it. Do you really honestly, John, can you be better? I know you can be better. I know you're better than that, than to just say MSNBC. Come on. Just say, okay, he said those things and it was stupid. You can admit it. It's okay. This is a friendly environment. He can't see it after spending all the time staring at the sun. Yeah, that was just like, how do you stare into the, I mean, well, he didn't go blind, did he? Yeah, oh, good. MAGA, don't use Google. No. Google's a liberal conspiracy. MAGA used Google. Oh, yes, that really old clip from MSNBC. See, yes. That means that Donald Trump, because it was on MSNBC, we get it. It didn't happen because it was on MSNBC, even though it was Donald Trump himself saying the same thing over and over again. He called the excursion. He means incursion. I think Gilligan and Skipper went on an excursion. Actually, they went on a 3-hour tour. 3-hour tour. Trump is an idiot and a pathological liar. They've been trying to undercut Google since it became a web crawler. Every major lawsuit against Google's credibility has been bankrolled by conservatives. I actually believe that Trump said you can't see the plane over and over and over again. You're the one that literally just watched him say it over and over and over again. Toupee taco tariffs in chief. He literally said you can't see this. Willfully ignorant and willfully deaf. No, this is like the Republican cycle. Is first of all, they start a stupid argument, then they lose the stupid argument, then they complain about why we're arguing about the stupid argument. Yes, we couldn't be talking about like what I was talking about before you started asking stupid questions, which is the fact that the gas is going up, oil is going up, all because Donald Trump decided he was going to start an illegal unilateral war. Look how sickly and forgetful he is. There won't be a 2027 for him. Oh, where are the foolish ones? Willfully ignorant in chief. You're so far behind in the chat that none of the comments are going to have the correct context. Okay, well, then stop leaving stupid comments. Then I don't have to slow down to look at them. You support Trump. You're foolish. Let me guess. He turned off his volume so he couldn't hear it. How far behind am I? 2:34. About 10 minutes. Wow. You think Cheeto Daddy will succumb to his illness or because of the files coming up? Oh, no. The ketchup's got to do its job at some point. The United States' largest exports are petroleum products and aircrafts and parts. The value of those things have gone up recently. Yeah, well, that's because the cost of oil is going up. That means everything. Those aren't just exports either, by the way. We also buy those things locally, like inflation. That's just called inflation. You support Democrats and I'm foolish. Yes, I support Democrats and you're foolish. Yes. What kind of hopes and mental gymnastics will you jump around this time? You heard him say it. Go ahead and deny it. Don't tell me you're supporting Trump. Good trolling, John Media. We still would be in. Yeah. I don't know politicians' ass, Jack. I don't know what that means. There we go. Moving the goalpost from switching subjects. Trump is a leagues better than any Democrat. Okay, there's a completely hollow and meaningless opinion. If Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd probably date her. Because of Obamacare's Affordable Health Care Act, I was able to quit my job and have other people pay for my health care. Well, no, that's not at all what happens. You do know you have to have income to get the ACA, right? Like you have to have a qualifying income for it. And no, it's not other people paying for your health care. Our inflation is not the rest of the world's problem when they can trade among themselves faster and easier and cheaper nowadays. Have you seen what Trump's been, America laughing stock? Have you seen what Trump's been doing to our country? It's not been good. I mean, it's not. It's just not. Like even you know, like the Trumpers on here, they seem like they're kind of getting tired. They're like they're just like O.J. Simpson in Oakland, you know, I mean, or Jerry Rice in Oakland. like the you know, like when an athlete's like Michael Jordan in his Wizard years. I mean, they're just going through the motions. Even the Trump supporters, they know they're wrong, but they've just got to fight out a habit. And so they're just coming in with this really weak stuff like MSNBC. Who in their right mind would think of that question? Good channel, Kelly. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You would, or ma'am, I don't know if BCJ, if that's a boy, like, anyway. You could rub MAGA's nose in poop and they would say fake poop. And then they would like eat it just to prove it to you. Well, I think he's going to K-Anxious and stage it for a final contact. Just a pathetic shrimp loser he is. What is K-Anxious? He would be a lion because nobody would want to mess with him. Donald Trump? Dude, nobody's afraid of Donald Trump. Orange fornication nugget. I'm laughing. He's a literal garbage. Like, you know what the difference between Donald Trump and a bag of poop? The bag. They did it again, reelected Trump. Trump just leave the fat guy alone. He has a lot on his plate. All of it's McDonald's. Are people that say racism is bad making fun of the? No, people that are say that racism is bad are making fun of Donald Trump wearing inordinate amounts of tanning lotion and makeup. I'm sorry, orange is not a race; it's a choice. Trump blames Obama. That's why he gutted Obamacare. Yeah. Questions make liberals think, and they don't like to think. They, whatever. You don't know what the Constitution says. See, here's the problem. When MAGAs ask questions, they never want the answers. They ask questions, then when you answer them, they ignore the answer. So there's just no worth. It's not worth the time. I know what the Constitution says. You can't run the third term unconstitutional, MAGA jackass. You can't. You are an ignorant rage baiter. You know damn well people that are born with a color and the difference of somebody that purposely dips themselves in Cheeto dust. Get out of here. It's such a, like, why are they that way? Why do they have to be so dishonest? The same jerk-offs who shout about originalism sure don't fight against the First Amendment. It's only when like, it somehow originalism includes, you know, like witch hunters' opinions on abortions, but doesn't involve the actual text of the Constitution on tariffs. You know, they have a very, very weird idea of textualism. Presidents are allowed 2 terms. You can make money off of inflation. America laughing stock, Canada laughing at y'all. The whole world's laughing at us. But like in a weird way, it's kind of like, you know, like if you watch somebody stub their toe and they're like hopping around in pain and you're kind of laughing, but you're also feeling guilty for laughing at somebody's pain, but it's still, for some reason, it's funny. It's that kind of laughing. Hey, Trump trusted the CDC. That's why. Oh, look at Billy. You are just really, really, really in such, no, that's just weirdo land. I don't know how to put this to you, Billy, but the vaccines are effective and they're safe. And they've saved like just millions of lives. Did you see the gas pumps? No, I did not say that. No gas thanks to Trump. Y'all really voted for Trump again? I didn't. 394 Rochester, New York. What news station? Is the news change if I change the channel? Will Donald Trump stop being president? Will the Iran war go away? Will the gas prices come down? Because I'll put it on that channel if it has a way of changing the actual reality. MAGA deflect, typical host, blanking y'all with truth. I'd rather be a liberal than a MAGA. I tried to be a MAGA, but I just couldn't get my head up my butt. Like, I mean, like, you'd have to really. One time I was walking down the sidewalk and I saw this guy. It was the weirdest thing. This guy just shoved his head up his butt. Just stopped right and just shoved his head all the way up his butt. And he just kept going and going and going until it popped out. Like all the way. He shoved his head so far up his butt, it just popped right back out of his neck hole. Only now he was wearing a MAGA hat. It's Biden's fault. Yes. It's Obama's fault. It's everybody's fault but Trump's. Don't forget about Hillary. It's got to be Hillary's fault too, BJ or BC. I'm going to say it. Both parties suck. I'm not getting rid of my car. I hate the bus. There is no U.S. president that hasn't done some bleeped up bleep in the last end of 20. How would you feel if Iran was the one that came into the United States? I don't think, what does this, oh, yeah, I forget. Also, if you fought so hard to prevent free speech in Minnesota, don't cry about it when it's applied to you and a YouTube channel. Go to Fox if you don't like it. What did Pure Joy say that was not true? No. I don't think that the 2024 election was rigged. I've looked into it and I just don't see how it's possible. I think that, you know, all the things were the election ballots were air gapped, and most of them wouldn't have even had any access to Musk's thing. Like just not realistic. I'm here to possibly learn some things today. Are we going to do that? I didn't end up putting together a slide deck for today. I just was out of commission the last couple of days and wanted to just pop on and talk about some things. But it's possible that we'll learn some things. Hey. Hello, Kitty just popped into the studio. Yeah, if you, I won't put you on, but if you want to say hi, you can put yourself on. So.
Hi! I was just in an Epstein Wiki meeting.
Oh, really?
We talked about you.
Oh, no. Was it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, no, Anthony loves your podcast methodology, and he loves the clips that you put up when he was up and so on. So it was all
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah, I really
So that's-
enjoyed having Anthony on. For those that didn't know, Anthony is like probably, if you ever want to know anything about the Epstein Wiki, including who some random person is, he will give you about a 15-minute.
He's like a savant. He's an
Huh?
Epstein savant.
He knows everything about it. And so he was on the show and he answered a lot of our questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'd be
And
happy
then-
to come on sometime.
And what? I'm sorry, what was that?
I said he'd love to come back on sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Kitty is, I think some of you probably already know this, but she's put together a website, EpsteinWiki.com, which is basically everything you wanted to know about Epstein and forgot to ask. And then some things that you never even knew to ask.
Oh,
There's a
Some
lot
things
of
you
stuff.
have to see. So, all right. Well, I'll come back here, and I'll
Okay.
let you get back. What's our topic today?
I ended up not having one. I'm just
So
I'm
it's a
just
free
surfing
for all.
today. Just surfing comments.
Shenanigans.
I had started putting. I'm probably going to end up talking about the SAVE Act a little bit,
Oh,
but I didn't put
that's
together a
okay.
slide deck.
The
There's a
SAVE
lot of stuff
Parkinson's
about the
Act.
SAVE Act that is really starting to. The way it's being talked about is getting really annoying.
It really is. It really, really is. No, I agree. It's absurd.
Like they act like it's just a voter ID law,
And it's
which
not.
it's so much more than that.
No, now they're doing transgender
Yeah.
legislation connected to it, and
And
it's
so
just
somehow that's related.
right.
But I'm talking about the actual stuff related to the SAVE Act,
Mm-hmm.
apart from Donald Trump's new things he wants to see in it.
There's so much. There's so much. All right.
All right. Thanks for popping on. I've never been to Minnesota. I'd rather be a Democrat than a Trump supporter. At least I'd rather be a dried up piece of dog poop than a Trump supporter. At least I could still have some pride. I did learn some things on your last podcast. Thank you. So why don't I talk about, I don't have a slide deck and I'm way behind in the comments. So I might as well, okay, we got somebody. SAVE Act is going to be used to test birthright, citizenship, and other tenets. Okay, so let me talk about the SAVE Act a little bit. Let me explain something about the SAVE Act. First of all, whenever you see Republican politicians defending it, they're always saying things like, look, I need an ID to go to the grocery store, which you don't, or get a pharmacy prescription, which sometimes you do, and or open a banking account, which you kind of do, but not always. But the idea that you use when you go to the grocery store to show you're over 21, if you're buying wine, or if you're, trying to open a bank account and you give them that your driver's license, or you're picking up your prescription medicine. The ID that you use to do all of those things is not the ID that you can use to register to vote. That ID is insufficient unless there are 5 states 5 states, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where you can get citizenship put on your ID. They have like a special ID where you can have that you're a citizen put on them. However, to get that on your ID, you need to have a birth certificate or a passport, right? Without a birth certificate or a passport, you can't get that ID. Without a birth certificate, you can't get a passport. Like, basically, you need to have a birth certificate to get anywhere. To prove your citizenship, you either need a birth certificate or your naturalization papers. There's other ways, like, if you're in the military, there are some military IDs that say you're a citizen, but again, need to have your birth certificate to validate that. And here's just the sad truth. Some people never were issued a birth certificate. Up until the 50s, there were lots of people that were born in America, and they were just born at home and they never got a birth certificate. I think now they've updated some laws so that everybody gets one. But even then, there are people that were born and had birth certificates, but then it was kept in their hospital they were born at, and that hospital was destroyed, and so the birth certificate was destroyed. There are some people that it's not that they can't get one because they're stupid. It's that they can't get one because the original just no longer exists or never did exist. There are some people, it is just impossible for them to get a birth certificate. Period. And it's not an insignificant number. Like I brought up the other day, in Arizona, they have 2 types of registration. They have people that are registered to vote in federal elections and people who are registered to vote in state and federal elections. They had a citizenship requirement similar to the SAVE Act. And there are about 45,000 people in Arizona who simply can't prove they're a citizen. So they just have that little box they printed under penalty of perjury that every state has, right? Right now, if you just can't prove you're a citizen, you can check that little box and just swear you're a citizen and be considered a citizen. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, and I've looked this up and I couldn't find anything. It's possible something happened and I'm wrong. But I am not aware of anybody that has ever been convicted of perjury for checking that box. Like, it's not a thing. You don't have non-citizens going and checking that box so that they can illegally vote. Because they know that's their name, that's their address, and they're like attesting to a crime that has no payoff. They just don't do that. This is not a real thing. Non-citizens don't vote, and they don't vote and get away with it. They just don't vote because it's not worth it. The reward is not worth the risk. If they get caught, their entire lives are destroyed. If they get away with it, one extra vote got cast for the guy that they want to win. It just doesn't happen. And so it just doesn't happen. I think there are less than 100 cases of non-citizens voting in the last 44 years. And in those cases where non-citizens voted, there were a few where they didn't know they weren't allowed to vote because there's some weird stuff that goes on with some people that live in territories. Sometimes it's okay for them to vote, and sometimes it's not okay for them to vote, depending on where they're living at the time. But the other thing is people that are non-citizens that voted, but they came over here with illegal documents. or they used illegal documents to prove that, you know, they were citizens and stuff and had been living here. And if, you know, the SAVE Act wouldn't have prevented those because they had the fake birth certificates and passports and stuff. All right. There is not one case of undocumented person or a non-citizen voting, documented or otherwise, that the SAVE Act would have prevented. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't. It doesn't happen. All right. So that's number one. On any meaningful scale, it's not happening. And the very, very rare instances of when it does happen, the SAVE Act wouldn't prevent it. Now let's talk about some things the SAVE Act does that nobody wants to talk about. Republicans will never talk about this. One is it requires you have to go register in person. You have to actually go and register at the thing. You have to wait in line and register. And that's the biggest deterrent to people registering. You can say, well, that's the price you have to pay, which is fine. If you want to make that argument, make that argument. But they're not making that argument. They're not saying, yeah, I think that you have to go and you have to register in person. Why aren't the Republicans, if they believe so strongly in that, why is that not the case they're making to the American people? Why are they trying to make it sound like something other than what it is? Why are they trying to make it sound like you just have to show ID when you vote? Why aren't they saying what is actually in it? If they know that, if they think that what's actually in it is so popular. You know what I'm saying? Why are they lying about what's in it if what's actually in it is so popular? That's number one. Number two is this whole thing with there's some confusion about this that kind of goes both ways on the married women. Okay. So to register, if you're already registered, you're fine. But if you're registering for the first time or have to re-register, which we'll get to in a second, you have to have your documents with you. And that can be a birth certificate and your driver's license. And states will allow, depending on what state you're in, states can allow your marriage certificate to show that, your name changed when you got married. And so that can kind of connect your birth certificate to your driver's license. But still, that's one other thing that you have to bring with you to the DMV to get cleared up. Number two, it does not include women that are just now getting married, that got married in the last 6 months to a year. They have to go and find their birth certificate and go to the DMV and re-register. No, it also includes if you move, you have to go to DMV and update your records, and you have to show, your birth certificate and all of that stuff. So you're creating hurdles for some people disproportionately. Young people are more likely to move around a lot simply because they're more likely to be renters than homeowners. And, if you're a college student, I don't know about you, but I lived in a different apartment almost every single, semester I was in college. I didn't stay in one place for every single year that I was in college. I think we signed our leases September to September. But yeah, now if you are a college student, you changed your address, you got to go to DMV and you got to sit there and wait half a day, and you've got to change it. You can't just change it online. Why you can't change that online, I don't know. I have not heard a good reason why you can't change that online. Other than they don't want people to vote. That's the only way that makes sense, is you're cutting out a significant chunk of people that you don't want voting because they're not going to vote for you. Women that just got married, they're going to have issues. The number of people that don't have birth certificates are disproportionately poor and Black. And so then there's this other thing called the 14th Amendment, which requires equal protection. That means you can't pass laws that intentionally disproportionately affect some groups of people over others. So this SAVE Act is a violation of that. Not only that, it's also a violation of the 26th Amendment, which is that young people can vote. It's a violation of the 17th, I think, and the 16th, the Black men, or that Black people and women can vote. Yeah, there's some constitutional issues there because it deliberately disenfranchises certain people. So getting back to what I was saying, I kind of got lost in my train of thought here, but 45,000 people in Arizona right now are actual American citizens registered to vote in federal elections, but unable to prove their citizenship through documentation. And if that's about 1.04% of all Arizona voters. So if you apply that same percentage nationwide, you're talking about 1.7, 1.8 million voters that are affected by this. That simply, they are actually American citizens. And it's not that they're too dumb to get their birth certificates. They're just, the birth certificates don't exist for them to get. There are some people that just do not have birth certificates. And those people should not be disenfranchised because some fat orange dude got on a soapbox and screamed for years and years and years about how non-citizens are voting, and it's a completely made up thing. SAVE Act is going to be used to, okay. There was something else I wanted to, oh yes. And the other thing I wanted to bring up about the SAVE Act is the voter rolls. Did you know that the SAVE Act would require states to send in their voter rolls to this federal database like once a month or once a quarter? I forget which it is. And then they run the names through the voter rolls, and then they send it back to the states and say, you have to purge these people off of your voter rolls. And 20% of the names that they're flagging are false positives. So they're gonna like just literally take millions of people off the voter rolls that shouldn't be. Then those people are going to have to jump through hoopanoria to get back on, and they may not even have time to do it because they can even take you off the voter rolls after. If this does not bother you, then I don't know what will. Your name, you can be a 100% lawful legal voter. Have your name taken off the polls, off of the rolls by the federal government's order, and then have that happen after the deadline to register. So you can have your name taken off the voter rolls and not be able to register again in time to vote for the next election. How did like that does that bother you? That you could just unambiguously and completely be completely disenfranchised by the federal government. And why? Why do we need this? Because of made up stuff. And it costs money. Yeah. And that's the other thing is This is all pseudo Jim Crow laws. And it's not just the money it costs. Kitty's right that it costs money. Like birth certificates cost money. The IDs cost money. But it's not just the money it costs you. People that are more likely to need to change their driver's license or change their registration and go to the DMV tend to be lower wage people. And if you think about it, because again, they're younger people, they're people that just got married, so tend to be younger, college students, things like that. And so those tend to be hourly workers, not salary workers. So you need to not just pay the money for the birth certificate or whatever that you need to get and go to DMV to do it. You also need to take that time off of work, which costs you another half a day's pay. And so the idea is just to keep people from voting. It's not. This has nothing at all to do with voter integrity. If anything, and this is the other thing that nobody talks about. If somebody that works at the voting poll or whatever accidentally lets somebody that's a non-citizen vote or register to vote, they can get thrown in prison for that. They can go to jail for that. They can be criminally prosecuted. And not only that, they can also be sued by anybody that wants to sue them. Doesn't even have to be somebody in the same state. So our elections depend on voluntary poll workers. Well, if you can end up going to jail for making a mistake or getting sued into oblivion because you made a mistake, and you've already got like this kind of animosity already circulating in this whole thing. You'd look at what happened to those poor black women in Atlanta, basically got run out of their houses, out of their home, because they, dared count ballots. Ruby Freeman and what was her name? Can't remember the other one. But yeah, you've already got that kind of animosity against poll workers. Now you can sue them, send them to jail. How much you want to bet we're going to have a harder and harder time getting poll workers to fill the slots? And if poll workers aren't showing up, how does that help the integrity of our voting system? If we don't have enough poll workers to actually handle the elections, do you think that helps or hurts? Like the things they're doing to disenfranchise millions of Americans and like gut voter registration and to run out anybody that wants to volunteer to be a poll worker. Like all that stuff is just this is anything but about voter integrity. It's about the lack of integrity from Republicans. It's not the Save America Act, it's Save the Republican Majority in the House Act. Okay, so what did somebody named Eric said something? Maybe only rich people should vote. And I'm sure that the Epstein class would love that, Obama. Not in Indiana, It costs money. Some folks not issued one. It takes either a computer or time to go and get it. It is a poll tax. It's not only proof to vote. No. Oh yeah. Yeah. It guts mail-in voting. The government was willing to provide the documentation for free. I would have less issue with this. And if they were to have a way for people that don't have a birth certificate to get around it, you know what I mean? But why not just have the box at that point? Because again, there is no problem to solve. This is just creating problems entirely on the pretext of this fake problem that doesn't exist. If it's not a real thing, why don't Democrats vote for in Congress? Because it's not a real thing, because of exactly what I'm telling you, Eric. Because the whole thing is not a real thing. And since it's not a real thing that's going to disenfranchise millions of people, we don't want to disenfranchise millions of people. That's why not. What is hard for you to understand about that? Like that people should not be denied the right to vote simply because when they were born, they weren't issued a birth certificate. Or because the birth certificate, the hospital they were at, where they were born, got flooded or burned down, and so there is no more original birth certificate. Everyone just knows they're just going to snatch all the votes and then say they were no good. And then we're going to have a bunch of potbelly commandos in front of every polling station intimidating voters. Wouldn't be surprised if you vote a certain way, you're escorted into a van out the back. Even Republican prosecutors couldn't find any evidence of illegal immigrants voting. That's the thing. The Heritage Foundation started this. The Heritage Foundation started this database of all the illegal votes going back to 1984. And they started this. They wanted to prove just how bad voting fraud was. And what they found is that there's been like roughly 1,600 cases of voter fraud since 1984. So that's what, 22 years or 42 years now, right? 42 years, 1,600 cases of voter fraud. That's all kinds of voter fraud, dead people voting, all of that kind of stuff. Out of billions of votes, they got 1,600 cases of voter fraud. That means that 1,600 divided by 44, so we'll just say 40 per year. 40 per year. Total. That's including every kind of voter fraud. That's including convictions, accusations, whatever. That's including primaries. That's including, local elections. That's including school board elections. Not just presidential elections. Every single kind of election. So like literally billions of votes. And they found 1,600 cases of fraud. And that is a extremely hard right organization that started this database to prove how rampant voter fraud is. And all they proved is that it's not a problem. It's not a problem. So my question for you is, Eric, if it's not a real thing, since it's not a real thing, why do Republicans insist on voting for it in Congress? Why are it's not a hypothetical if it's real or not. It's not real. It's not real. So why are Republicans insisting on this? Why are they insisting on taking away the rights of millions of people to vote to solve a problem that doesn't exist? Like honestly, answer the question, Eric. See if you have the gumption to. Everyone knows they're just going to snatch all the voters. And yeah. I can't type in a contraction for you are not enough characters. Even Republic. Okay. I couldn't type in a contraction for you. They're not. Wait till MAGA living in those Southern Sea of Shimmering Trailer Courts finds out they can't vote. They'll just shrug and kick back another Coors Light. Someone summoned me by saying crypto. Nope. Nobody said crypto. I bet I know who your favorite superhero is. It's crypto. Superman's dog, crypto. It's like Shazam. I have a patient who has been trying to get theirs for 7 years. Wow. You have to be able to get there, and that's rough for people in the boonies. The same. Yes. And for what? Again, like for what? Why can't you like this is one of the things. Why, if you already went and you showed all your documents, I don't understand for the life of me why you can't just change it online. If your ID and birth certificate don't match, they will deny. In some cases, if you have, there's like, it says something about the states can determine what other documents. So I think, like states can say, like your last name, your married name doesn't, your married name is on your driver's license, but not your birth certificate. Some states will allow the marriage license, but we don't know which states those are because the SAVE Act hasn't passed. And then, so there's like a 30-day period where they have to get all of this. The other thing, and this is another thing that nobody talks about, that is really one of the reasons that I find it completely unconstitutional, is that by requiring all this in-person stuff, then obviously you're going to have a lot more people at the DMV. And like right now, like I think it's, I want to say 4% of updates to registrations are done in person. So like 25 times what is done right now. That's going to take a lot of time of the people at the DMV. And no funding is being given for extra staffing at the DMV. So all the, it's going to require more staffing at the DMV to handle all this extra work, but they're not giving the DMVs any money to do all that extra work. So that's an unfunded mandate. And I don't know about you. I don't know how old you are, but if you were an adult when ACA kicked in, the words unfunded mandate were they were two of the favorite words the Republicans could say. They just always were going on and on about unfunded mandates. Well, this is an unfunded mandate. You can always tell a Republican because they're saying the exact opposite today of what they said yesterday. Okay. All right, let's get to the next thing. It's going to be some mandatory states don't have. Many states don't have marriage certificate. Do they really? I did not. Let me double check you on this one. I'm pretty sure every state has marriage. Okay, Grok says everybody has some kind of marriage license or something, and that would be hard to get around legally because of just insurance and all kinds of reasons. I mean, like next to kin issues. That is what it is in it. But women, people of color, particularly Black people, labeled as criminals, like the Irish arrested for stealing food they grew during the Great Famines and couldn't previously vote. More people are renting. Yeah. It's getting harder and harder for people to buy homes. Rent is going down, but price of homes is up. Love to Iran. The overrepresentation of people of color among criminals has never been greater past Civil Rights Act. Wow. If you have been married twice, having to bring marriage certificates, birth certificates, divorce, yeah. You can have too many. And it's just, why? Like, if there were a reason to do all of that and be open, but there's no reason. There's absolutely no problem. There's no problem with people, with non-citizens voting. Why do you have to prove you're a citizen? Why? Why is that an issue? I still have never heard anybody give me a good reason for that. Again, Gary, it's nothing to do with people needing to show something to vote. It's not about that. It's about registering to vote, and it's about being able to vote. In-person voter fraud is extremely, extremely rare. Like almost impossibly rare. Like all of this is like presupposing that there is some sort of issue that needs to be resolved. Now, in order to even, like, let's say in Illinois, you don't need a driver's license. You don't need a picture ID. And when I first moved there, I'd been there like 3 months, and my old driver's license had expired, and I hadn't had one in a couple of years because I hadn't had a car and everything, and so I just needed to go and take a test, and so I didn't have a driver's license just yet, and I had I was able to show my Social Security card. And I didn't have my birth certificate on me because that was still in the mail. I had just moved there. So I had my driver's license, or I didn't have my driver's license. I was able to show them my Social Security card and an electric bill that had my name on it, or a phone bill. Not an electric bill, just a phone bill that was in my name. I had a utility bill in my name and my Social Security card, and then I had to swear that I was a citizen and I could vote. I was a citizen. I could vote. Like, what's wrong with that? You know, like this idea that there are like millions of citizens, non-citizens voting and just checking off that box is just, it's nonsensical. It's fanciful. It's ridiculous. Anybody who thinks that millions of non-citizens are voting every year is just not a serious person, because that is just not happening. It's not just that there's no evidence that it's happening. There's evidence that it's not happening. And it's such a ridiculous premise that all these millions of people are illegally voting and getting away with it. It's silly. It's just a silly, silly thing that Republicans have decided is a thing. And nobody challenges them on it. Like, nobody, like, just why? You can go and you can open up a bank account without an ID. So what? So what? We're not talking about opening up a bank account. We're talking about voting. And I do not agree that you need to pass a credit. I don't think you have to have a certain credit score to get a bank account, right? I don't think you need to have a credit score to vote. I don't think it should be easier to to open a banking account to vote. People are like, oh, it shouldn't be easier to do this than to vote. Yes, it should be. If you're an American citizen, voting should be as easy as going up and saying, I want to vote. That's all. It should not be a thing that you have to jump through hoops for. Why can't you just write off, fill in a ballot and mail it off? They'll get frustrated after the first few words and then just tear up the papers and kick people away. You know they don't read, they just shoot. Yes, a real ID. Thank you for pointing that out. A lot of people are very confused because there is, like the citizenship IDs and then there's real IDs. And I, even on MSNBC or MS Now, I guess we're calling it these days, I've heard people say that the real ID will let you vote. A real ID won't let you vote. Only if it actually says the word citizen on your ID card can you vote with that. I don't even have a real ID. Raid Heritage Foundation agenda on getting rid of women's. Oh yeah, they don't want women to vote at all. They want women to be barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. I have a non-driver ID since I moved to the city. I let my license expire. You're preaching to the choir. No chains of bondage applying to people who are historically enslaved. Kind of shocked this insanity hasn't been shut down yet. Shut down by who? Yeah, exactly. The inmates are running the asylum. The 14th Amendment, the Constitution in its entirety, without being abridged, applies to every single citizen without exception. And regardless of what states pass, states can only provide more. I don't think it matters if we vote or not, really. Well, I mean, that's fine. You're entitled to that belief. But do you think that people who want to vote should be able to vote? Do you think that politicians should choose their voters, or do you think that the voters should choose their politicians? People are not insane. People that are not insane. Protections that the federal government minimum standards. In Florida, a mayor won by a single vote. And you think about 2000 election. If there was ever a presidential election that proved every vote matters, you think about it, 600 votes decided the entire presidency. And who knows, maybe those were eventually, maybe they would, if we had actually found out everybody that voted, maybe Al Gore wins. And if Al Gore wins, maybe the World Trade Center never gets knocked down. Maybe we don't have a 20-year war. Who knows how different the world would be right now. A dingo vote? It's a vote by a dingleberry, I guess. Well, I personally believe that our votes don't matter. There's so much corruption. I don't think there is corruption, though, Gary. I really don't. I think that there's corruption and there are people who are corrupt in the government, but I also think that there are people in the government who are not corrupt. I do think that Donald Trump is the most corrupt president we've ever had, and I don't even think there's a second place. I think you have to go all the way down to fourth or fifth. Your employers can also see voter roll and use it as proof of ID. I did not know that. I'm not associated with either of them. That's my 2 cents, and I'm not up for debate. That's just how I feel. No, that's fair. This is all because his ideas are so unpopular. He knows he would lose a legitimate election. That's that simple. He's already said so, right? If I don't get this SAVE Act, then they're going to impeach me. I'm going to lose, and then we're going to lose the House, and I'll get impeached again. They can deny you work if you use roller rolls to establish residency. You can lose your job, and if the government removes you, then you can assume a crime. They can. I don't know about all that. I'll look into it, Mouse. Trump will likely say certain state elections are not valid if Trump thinks they didn't comply, aka blue states. I am sorry you feel so defeated, Gary. I appreciate that. I wish I could read your... I can never read your something, and I love it. But I can never read your little bus thing. Hey, all right. I scroll there. I'm behind again. Oh well. About 5 miles. I'm way behind. Wait, 342. Oh, honestly, the events of Trump's first and ongoing second term would make a hell of a "we didn't start the fire" parody. How you doing today, Kitty? Good to see you. Common law marriages still require you to get a marriage certificate to get the... I did not know that. See, I learn stuff every day I do this show. I'm sure you do. I mean, the question really isn't whether... It doesn't matter if you know somebody, Danny. They exist. There are people that exist that do not have those IDs, and some don't even have a way to get them. It doesn't matter if you know them. You know, like, I'm sorry that your own little nuclear world is not the only thing that exists on the planet. People can exist outside of your awareness and still be just as relevant as people as you are. Anyway, point is, this has nothing to do with a bank account or a car or whatever. A lot of people don't need have you ever lived in like a major metropolitan area like Chicago or New York? A lot of people don't have cars. They just get around by public transportation. And you don't need a driver's license to get on the bus. Sure, why not? I have no problems letting everybody who is a citizen vote. It's already against the law for non-citizens to vote. And there's no evidence that non-citizens are voting. And there's actually, you know, as much as they've tried to do it, like different states and different people and different organizations have tried to prove non-citizens are voting, but they're not. I have absolutely no problem with somebody just being able to swear under penalty of perjury that, you know, they're a citizen. I don't know why. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with just letting everybody? When you say let everyone vote that wants to vote, you're leaving out one very, very critical part. Every citizen. Every citizen who wants to vote should be able to vote. Period. I don't care what documents they have. But really, the issue is not whether or not you get there with any whether you can vote without any documents, because nobody's really, like in Illinois, where you don't need a picture ID, you don't need a photo ID. I still need to show my social security card and a bill that had the address on it so that I can prove that I lived there and that I lived in the precinct. But I don't think you need to prove your citizenship. I think that every citizen who wants to vote should be able to vote. I can absolutely buy. Trust me, I can buy a beer without a driver. I haven't been carded in 30 some years. I guess I let everybody vote and don't worry about who they are. Well, I think I didn't say don't worry about who they are. They can tell you who they are. You know, you go and you vote and you say, hi, I'm Kelly Scaletta. And they say, okay. And they look up your name and then they check it off because you're already registered. So you have to be in there. So one of the reasons it's really hard, Gary, you can't just go and just say, I'm Billy Bob Thornton. And then I live at, 2525 Billy Bob Thornton Lane and make up an address and then vote. Like, you actually have to be a real person and you have to say who you are and you have to be registered and you have to be matched in the voting rolls. Like there's actual, paperwork to be done. I am talking about you don't need to have proof of citizenship to vote. Oh, Dirty Money's back suddenly in 26. Didn't see you here, Dirty. You're a liar, dude. Okay. I don't know what I said that's untrue. You're one of those guys that just jumps in and starts screaming, liar, 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 and then not saying exactly what the lie is. I've never heard the solution here. There is no voting dilemma. There is no voting dilemma. There's nothing to solve. People aren't voting illegally. Oh, sorry. Put some pants and shirts on before you speak. Meaning get a profile picture? I don't know what that. God, I keep forgetting to get myself a license. I just want to wait until I get my name changed first because yeah, I hear you. I don't think people that I had one job where I had a coworker named Patsy, and different Patsy, but she was also named Patsy. And she was nobody knew she was trans. And then one day she let everybody know she is trans, and so now she's a he named Victor. So Patsy became Victor. And we all just congratulated him and started calling him Victor and didn't even bat an eye. And he was just like in tears that he was that well received by it. I don't think maybe a lot of people don't understand the real struggles that trans people go through. So not having to go through a struggle made a big difference to him. So anyway, I can't wait for it. I'm so happy that you're going to get a license with your real name on it, Rainbow. What voting problem? There is no voting problem. You can't open a bank account without a D. Anymore due to credit check. Yeah, and you don't need a credit check to vote. So, okay, Kitty, thanks. I missed the memo. In multiple states, all that's required is an illegal have a child born in. What does that have to do with anything? All I know is that every time I voted in my life, I had to have an ID. Because again, what if somebody doesn't have their ID? Did they lose the right to vote because they lost their ID? If you are a citizen, no matter what, you can vote. That should be the thing. That is the law. That is the current law. But if the SAVE Act passes, it won't be. Never advocated for anything but citizens voting, Denny. The only ones making it about non-citizens voting are the thing that this Republican MAGA made up thing. Non-citizens don't vote. There's been less than 100 cases of non-citizens voting in the last 44 years. And in the cases where non-citizens voted, 42 years. And in the cases where non-citizens voted, the SAVE Act wouldn't have stopped any of them. So I have no problem with saying non-citizens shouldn't be able to vote. But we don't need to change any laws to keep it from happening because it's not happening. It's like you might as well make a law to keep elephants out of your fridge. If you are a citizen, no matter where you came from, you are allowed to vote. Yep. It's not that difficult. It's actually very simple. You go and you vote. That's it. If you don't have proof of citizenship, you just attest that you are one under penalty of perjury. What I find fascinating about that, no one has ever been convicted of that felony, of lying about that. Like, if it's not sufficient, why isn't anybody being prosecuted for it? Where's all the felony convictions of all these non-citizens that swore under penalty of perjury that they were citizens? People vote for their politicians. Yes, we want to ensure the integrity of voting, but isn't part of ensuring the integrity of voting allowing people to vote? Like, if you're not allowing people to vote, how can you call that ensuring the integrity of voting? If you're not allowing actual legal citizens to vote, then the vote is losing integrity. Especially if it's a deliberate group of people that you're disenfranchising because they're going to vote against you. They also want to make it harder for women to get a divorce and education, especially higher education, and have a profession. They also want to change what jobs require higher education. Like, nurse is not considered a higher education anymore, or teacher for that matter. If it's not the other way around, this is stupid. Yeah, right. It's stupid for politicians to choose their voters. I think that's what he's saying. Do you know the city of Austin is paying $50 an hour? I did not know that. I'll plant my tulips. Never mind. I voted every time since I was 18. So did I. For being a good citizen. Okay, walk me through the process of how registration and the process work for you currently. Are you saying that none of us need to show anything to vote? No, I'm not. I am saying that in order to vote, you don't need what is in the SAVE Act. Like your social security card, like something to establish who you are, I'm fine with. And something that either, to either show you're a citizen, or if you can't, then to just swear under penalty of perjury. The attestation test, which right now Every state has that to vote in a federal election. Like you can just swear you're a citizen and then vote. Nobody's ever been convicted of lying about that. So why do you feel like you need something else when there's no issues with non-citizens voting or people that voting that pretending to be somebody else? Like, why do you feel like it's so important? It's always like, oh, well, you need it to open a bank account. Well, but this isn't a bank account. Why do you need to, you know, it's just, people don't vote. Non-citizens don't vote. And people don't vote trying to pretend to be their other people. Voting fraud is in itself, by a voter, is such a low reward, high risk thing. Like if it goes wrong, you're going to jail. And if it goes right, you get 2 votes instead of 1. Or 1 instead of 0. You're not going to change the outcome of the election. Like, it's not a thing. Okay. You did show an ID, and anyway, I've explained it enough times, Gary. Some people simply do not have the documents that the SAVE Act requires. The reason it's going to be like, you can't keep saying, well, it's always been this way in my state, so I don't see why that's an issue. Well, first of all, it was that way in your state for you. You don't know I don't know what state you're in or, you know, what else it requires. But right now, no state, there isn't one state that has the requirements that are in the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act would right away make every single state have tighter standards, to the point of excluding people from voting that should be able to legally vote. Conservatives should not be allowed to vote. They constantly vote to run our country and world. This is why the legislation is the problem. Don't hate it when the Amazon driver turns off his GPS so you can't see how far away the truck is. Oh, don't you hate it? I hate that. It's like, dude, I just want to know when you're going to be here. They vote with this starting. The current system works. Like, there's absolutely, exactly. What, you know, I haven't, what is the need, Gary? If it works just fine, why do we need to change it? You said what we have is working just fine. So why do we need to change it? Hey, Kelly, how can I call in and debate you on this? I don't know if I want to somehow a big old nutsack. I'm not quite sure that I want to waste my time with you. You're not coming across as being a very forthright person. Like, how about you tell me what you want to debate and I'll tell you if it's worth my time. Your non-desire to vote is not a reason for other people to lose their rights. I think what Mouse is saying is that whether you decide to use your votes or not, the SAVE Act is going to disenfranchise. It's going to prevent millions of people from being able to vote. If they want to, at least you have the right to, like, decide not to vote, right? Doesn't every citizen have a right to vote? The vast majority of Americans agree with. Who's talking about showing your IDs at the polls, Zigzag? We're not talking. This was the whole way the whole thing started. The SAVE Act is not about showing your ID at the polls. That has nothing to do with the SAVE Act. And when you hear this thing this one poll, and they use that to justify the SAFE Act. Why aren't you saying what's really in it, Zigzag? And the ID that they think is enough is not the ID that will let them register to vote. I don't think the most Americans think that you should have to go to DMV and spend half a day every time you move to update your registration. Yeah, if you're supporting any law or initiative to strip rights away, you're forcing your opinion and way of life on someone else. You have to have a MAGA rot brains to believe it. Thank you, Kitty. That's right. We are building alliances here. Gary is going to be on Team MPK before we know it. I have a paperless transactions for everything. You need to go back and read what I've written. I never force myself. No, I don't think anybody thinks that you're forcing yourself on anybody, Gary. But what is that? There's, you know, like the saying, how does that go? All it takes for bad men to succeed is for good men to do nothing. Something like that. You're by just saying, well, I don't vote, so this doesn't affect me. It affects other people. And so nobody's saying that you are actively taking away somebody else's right to vote, but by your inactivity to stop their right from being voted, from being stripped away from them, then you're allowing it to happen. What would Jesus do? All I know, Jesus rode a donkey, but he never rode an elephant. If you ever think about it. So Rocco Maffo must have gotten on somebody's nerves. Brett. They go through the struggles because they're sick and they're fucking dead. And this bill of driver's license is not enough to vote, so naming ID for another ID is redundant. Yes, just the more than one. Okay, so I need to take an intermission here, but I have an intermission
of the American.
I have an intermission thing I'm going to start doing. I created this little video, and you can watch this while I go take care of my stuff. This
Quiet panic is taking root.
Oops.
For generations, the
Let me
arrival
start
of
it over.
March has signaled a season of hope. Breadbasket. A quiet panic is taking root. For generations, the arrival of March has signaled a season of hope. The moment when the soil wakes up and the gears of the world's most efficient food machine begin to turn. But in 2026, that machine is hitting a wall. We aren't just looking at a difficult season. We are witnessing a pincer movement that threatens to break the American food system from both ends. The first strike is global. Thousands of miles away, the conflict with Iran has effectively padlocked the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just a headline, it's a physical blockade of 1/3 of the world's fertilizer trade. The Middle East provides the nitrogen, urea, and ammonia that act as the literal fuel for our crops. Without these inputs, the ground simply cannot produce the yields we need to feed a hungry nation. Because we are in the peak of the spring planting window, the timing couldn't be worse. Farmers are facing a 25% supply deficit exactly when the biological clock says they must plant or fail. Prices for urea and DAP have skyrocketed by 40%, forcing farmers to take on crushing debt just to buy the nutrients their soil craves. But as the global supply chain snaps, A domestic crisis has hollowed out the fields from within. Mass deportations have removed an estimated 1.6 million people from the workforce since January, and the impact on agriculture is catastrophic. Farming isn't just about chemistry, it's about callous hands. From the dairy barns of Idaho to the fruit orchards of Florida, the American food supply relies on a specialized, dedicated workforce that has suddenly vanished. Even for documented workers, a chilling effect has taken hold. Fear of enforcement is keeping thousands away from the fields during the most critical weeks of the year. This creates a brutal economic paradox. A farmer might spend a fortune on high-priced, scarce fertilizer to ensure a crop grows, only to realize there is no one left to harvest it. When labor vanishes, the massive investment in fertilizer becomes a total loss, rotting in the field. The consequences of this double hit won't stay on the farm. If we can't fertilize in the spring, we have lower yields in the summer. If we have no labor to harvest in the summer, we have empty shelves in the fall. Economists are already warning of a 15% spike in grocery prices by year's end. We are watching a perfect storm where the geopolitical chaos of the Middle East meets the domestic upheaval of our labor market. The fertilizer shortage is making it harder to grow our food, and the labor collapse is making it impossible to bring it to the table. In the race against the spring calendar, we are running out of both time and the people we need to survive.
So, anyway, what do you think? Is that a better way to use the intermission? I can do more of those. All right, I got a thumbs up from Kitty. I think it's a nice little. Anyway, feel free to comment on that. So yeah, some people are saying, and again, this is like all well and good. If you have an actual birth certificate, I mean, there's a few things, and it's not just about being registered to vote. It is also the time you have to take to go to DMV to update your registration every time you move. It is the fact that you basically kill voter registration drives. Because even if you register to somebody vote on a registration drive, they still have to go to DMV to confirm it. This is not about stopping undocumented non-citizens from voting. It is stopping citizens from voting. The real point of this that nobody's driving at is that what you have to do to register is actually go to DMV in person. All it's trying to do is kill registration drives. And there are people like that would rather be flayed than go to DMV. Like nobody, like DMV is like the worst place that exists. It's like in hell, when you die in hell, you go to DMV. Like that's how bad DMV is. Nobody wants to go there. Okay, so no one is being prosecuted because they live in insulated places that need their votes. I don't know. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Yeah. All those Chuck Norris jokes. Not so funny anymore, are they? Not so tough after all, are you, Chuck? No. I think was Chuck Norris MAGA? Didn't he end up being a MAGA guy? He took a lot of blows to the head. That's probably why. First, go to your Social Security Administration, ask for a new card. You don't even need to make an appointment in most cases. Just sit there and wait. And they want to bring the age of consent down. Yes. And they want to make it so that you have to start working earlier and stop working later. Integrity of votes is already done. When you vote, it is validated by checking SNS. Yes. Like, it's not, and it's not like nobody's doing anything, or, you know, like people are just going with made up names. And vote. Like, our elections are already secure. There is nothing insecure about our elections. Like, this idea that you have to have a photo ID to prove your citizenship to vote is somehow going to change things is just nonsense. So they gave you a story downplaying it. Problem: non-citizens have voted in our elections. No, okay, not in any significant number, Jeffrey. Like less than 100 over 44 years. And you're disenfranchising millions of people. You need an ID for many things, and it turns out no. Yeah, dude, that's irrelevant. The problem at the polls is not everybody has the exact documents that you're saying need to be had, and nobody is I mean, it's just, watch the rest of the show. Like, you just come in here swaying your big whatever around, your big little flag thing there, acting like you're sitting there bringing up some salient point that nobody's thought of before. Watch the rest of the show, dude. The stock market, yeah. Where is it at? Where did it end up? I'm gonna 45,577. So the highest it was under Biden was 45,014. So stock market is getting close to being lower than what it was under Biden. If it's required by the SAVE Act in order to vote, then any of those required documents should be given for free for immediate. But, you know, I agree with that, but I also just would like to point out again, it's not just about the voting requirements. It's about the state being able to strip you off the polls. It's about the state or the federal government being able to force the state to strip you off the rolls, even after the registration deadline has passed. It's about forcing you to go to DMV to change or update or register the first time. It's about the unfunded mandate of requiring the DMV to process all of these extra people that are coming in. There is just, it's about the unequal impact it has on minorities and women. How come Republicans never want to be honest about what's actually in these things? Hang on a second. I need to. Needed to send my wife a message and tell her to get up my curbside delivery. The driver's license and also your fry is recognized. No, that doesn't work, Jeffrey. That will not allow you to vote. Well, it won't allow you to register vote. That ID is insufficient. That's called a real ID. And no, if you want to register to vote using that, it is not sufficient. And not all of them were verified by a birth certificate or social security card. Like, this is the problem with MAGAs. They never look anything up. And if you correct them, they still won't look it up. They'll just keep insisting on the same thing over and over again. If you prove it to them, then the fact check is wrong. Whatever random thought they pulled out of their ass and thought was right that day is right. You cannot prove them wrong. You're wrong, dude. The driver's license that allows you to fly is not enough to get you to register to vote. You're just wrong on that. The parents with bad credit scores are tanking credit scores of their children because they use their kids as an. I did not know that. Wow. That's kind of a crappy thing to do. Yeah, it was fine up until now. Gary's not so bad. Gary tries. I don't know what Jason Winkler's doing. Trump has created all the issues that the MAGA base are in such an upheaval over. He is the only real problem we have. There's absolutely no reason. There are no issues with voter integrity, with election integrity. There aren't any. All 3 elections involving Trump when I had my ID and proof of residency. And everything else was, my vote was challenged, and only the first time I was still registered as a Republican was my vote allowed. He agrees with you, Skippy. The issue is that for an ID, yes, it costs money and time. And so there is that. That's a Jim Crow law. There's a lot of issues with it. And they just want to sit there and make it sound like it's just as simple as pulling your driver's license out. But it's not. It's not. And this is the thing, is once, so you know, you point out, okay, first of all, it's not about having, you know, just pulling out your driver's license when you vote. But then you're like acquiescing that having to show your driver's license when you vote, you know, is you're fine with that. I'm not fine with that either. Again, there are people. There are about 45,000 people in this. I bring up Arizona because Arizona is the one state where we know these people are registered to vote, but don't have proof of citizenship. There are 45,000 of them in Arizona that wanted to register to vote. They went through the trouble of registering to vote, but they didn't have the proof of citizenship. We know this because Arizona passed a law that said you have to have proof of citizenship. Supreme Court struck down the federal part of that and said you can require this for state laws, but not for federal elections. So right now in Arizona, if you don't have proof of citizenship, you can vote in federal elections, but not in state elections. And they have a separate tabulating system for that. They know there are 45,000 people that fits the bill. 45,000 actual people who registered to vote but don't have proof of citizenship. That's not a hypothetical number. That is an actual real number. And it constitutes about 1.04% of all Arizona voters. And if you were to take that same percentage and put it across the rest of the country, you're talking about 1.7 to 1.8 million voters that are just legal citizens allowed to vote that will not be able to vote because they simply do not have the proof of citizenship. Not that they can't get, but they do not have. It's one thing to not get a birth certificate because you don't know how to go online and ask for one. It's another thing to not get a birth certificate because there is nowhere to go online to get one. Like it does not exist. Some people were never issued birth certificates. Some people had birth certificates issued, but then the place they were kept were destroyed. So there are just some people in this country, believe it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you choose to accept it or not, there are some people in this country who are American citizens and simply do not have access to a birth certificate. Not immediate access, not long-term access, zero access ever, because one was never issued. I'm not going to disenfranchise almost 2 million people based on a made-up problem by a fat orange dude who can't take an L. The only reason we're talking about this is Donald Trump lost an election and doesn't have the big boy pants to own it. So yeah, like who said it? Alina. 46 presidents, but it doesn't work for this guy. What do I think about that illegal migrant recently who got arrested for voting? I don't know what I'm supposed to think, but he got arrested, right? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the person in Michigan? Yeah, well, they got arrested. It was illegal. Somebody broke the law and they got arrested for it. I don't think that means that nearly 2 million people need to lose their right to vote. Real ID is just proves who you really are. It doesn't prove you're a citizen. Real ID is just for like moving about the country on airplanes. It's not proof of citizenship. It's just proof of identity. Like you can have a real ID if you're a non-citizen. You can't vote if you're not a citizen. Oh, you like my moon music? I thought it was a. By the way, if any, I'm just now caught up. If you like the video, let me know. I went for the ominous moon music because I feel like it's an ominous topic. We are definitely gearing for a major recession. I spotted a drone over my city a few days ago. It was just having about 1,000 feet up, just a tiny speck. And this guy, oh, were you sunbathing, Brett? Were you showing off those abs? I used to have a 6-pack, but now I've just kind of gotten a 2-liter. Get it like a 2-liter? Never mind. All right. Why do you want everyone to prove citizenship? Like, what is the need? Because not everybody, like, it's possible to be a citizen and not have proof, but like a birth certificate. That's why. Because I think that people that don't have proof are still citizens and should still be able to vote. I came to this country without a birth certificate because we ran with the clothes on our backs, let alone a birth certificate. Right. We should cancel innocent until proven guilty to keep any potential crimes from being released. Is the same energy as the SAVE Act. Yes. Just assume that. I mean, like, I would rather have one non-citizen vote than a million non-citizen or a million actual citizens be denied the right to vote. If the cost of those million actual citizens voting is that one non-citizen falls through the cracks, I'm willing to let that happen. The problem is MAGA would rather have 1 million people disenfranchised to keep the boogeyman from voting. Oh, are you in the Air Force? Open question. What is the open question? Did I miss a question? Go ahead, open whatever question you want to ask. You don't need an ID to vote. That's why I want to keep all the. There aren't any. Like that, MAGA's whole premise, whole argument ties down to like this made up thing. Non-citizens aren't voting. See, so then they've got, we should let everybody in the world vote in our elections because we are the world's policemen. Ooh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. It's kind of funny that Donald Trump seems to think that because the US attacked Iran, that NATO has to join. And he's like all about Article 5, Article 5, Article 5, as though Article 5 applies. Article 5 says an attack on one is an attack on all. It does not say an attack by one is an attack by all. Donald Trump thinks that he decides to go to war and he doesn't have to go through Congress. He doesn't have to go through the UN. He doesn't have to go through his allies. He can just say, we're going to war, and then the entire world has to follow him. He thinks he's king of the world, not just king of America. What pattern do you recognize? There's no pattern here. The pattern is that non-documented migrants aren't voting. How come Republicans? MAGA's a lot, like it's funny how many MAGAs won't admit they're MAGA. They're like, I'm not MAGA, and then they just defend every MAGA talking point. How come Republicans would not be disenfranchised? Are they more? No, I think Republicans, there will be Republicans disenfranchised. And I honestly don't care which party it is that gets more disenfranchised. I don't think anybody should be. I think every American citizen should be able to vote. But the people who will be disenfranchised tend to fall into certain groups. One, they're lower income because they have to move around a lot because they rent. And so that means that they have to go to update their voting registry. There's people that are people of color, especially the older people of color. A lot of them were never issued birth certificates or live in places right now where, you know, like Louisiana, the Hurricane Katrina wiped out a bunch of records. There's married women, especially younger married women, as opposed to older married women. The people that it tends to affect more also tend to be in voting groups that tend to vote Democrat. So there will be Republicans and there will be Democrats. But statistically, more Democrats will be affected than Republicans. And again, for what reason? What are you stopping other than people voting? It actually doesn't need to go through Congress for the first 90 days. Well, technically, it needs to go through Congress before it starts. You're talking about the War Powers Resolution. War Powers Resolution actually says that you have to, if it's possible, to notify Congress beforehand, which he did not do. The War Powers Resolution constantly gets misrepresented, both by politicians and by the media. It doesn't give you, it wasn't meant to give you a 90-day window to fight limited wars. And I've been through this before, and I've criticized everyone from Obama to Trump for violating it. Are non-citizens counted in the census? Yes, they are. And are electoral votes determined by the census? Yes, it is. That's according to the Constitution. If you want to change that, change the Constitution. But non-citizens have always counted in the census. And so what? I mean, the reason is that they still live in that community, right? They're still paying taxes. They're still using resources, still driving on the street, still going to the schools. Yeah, many elderly would be disenfranchised due to the physical and financial limitations. Imagine trying to put the SAVE Act into action when almost no one updates their driver's license or IDs every time they move per the law. Yeah. I mean, this is like people are not fully fathoming. Is that a word, fathoming? Fathoming. Doesn't that sound like, it sounds like some sort of new drug. Fathoming. For somebody that, you know, it's like for if you have ADD and reflux, fathoming. I imagine trying to put the SAVE Act into action when almost no one updates their driver's license or IDs every time they move per the law. And it's like, and you can't do it online. You can't just go online to your DMV, update it, and order a new one. Yeah, people who are getting disfranchised tend to be people that are low income, female, people of color, people that don't vote for Republicans. No taxation without representation is the reason they're counted in the census, even though they're not eligible for social entitlements without a green card. That's fair enough. Sounds good to me. It's wild that you think it's beyond a person's ability to get. And don't think it's beyond a person's ability to get it. It's wild that you think that's what I'm saying. Like, are you actually listening to what I'm saying? Or are you just being obdurate here? Because I am literally not saying that is a person's ability beyond ability to get basic identification. That's not what I am saying. Okay. So I don't know if you've gotten too many hits to the head in your football career there, but allow me to explain one more time for the slow and obviously belligerent. The fact is, some people were never issued birth certificates. The fact is that some people had their original birth certificates destroyed. That number of people is somewhere around 1.7 to 1.8 million Americans. All right. That is not saying that it's beyond their ability to get identification. What I am saying is they cannot get what does not exist. If the birth certificate does not exist for them, they cannot get one. And back to the basics, everything comes down to having a birth certificate or a naturalization certificate. And if you never got one, then the SAVE Act disenfranchises you. No, I think that the poor black people are smarter than you. I don't think that you are smart enough to understand a basic argument. You are an inept, stupid person. You should have worn your helmet. Yeah, 4.5 years in the Air Force. Yeah. All right, so much for football guy. It's just being a dick. Right. They're just being contrarian for the case of being. If your parents did a home birth and didn't believe in trusting the government, they didn't get a birth certificate unless they tried to get social entitlements. Or if they were born before 1950 in rural Georgia, I mean, like some places that had segregated hospitals and stuff, parents didn't even have a choice. Some people just never got birth certificates. And they were infants. It's not like they were supposed to jump out of the womb and say, "Mother, father, please ensure you get a birth certificate so that in 75 years, I can tell Donald Trump that I don't want him to be president anymore." I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 17 and I retired in 2006. Cannot support a draft dodging coward. I was just thinking about this. I enlisted on March 26, 1986. So I'm coming up on my 40th anniversary of when I enlisted. And Mouse's houses. Did I catch that you were in the Air Force? We used to have, I was in basic training, we had the house mouse, which was like the guy that took care of the TI's administrative stuff, kind of like radar. And he was called the house mouse. So were you a house mouse if you were in the Air Force? And with the states closing more facilities, fewer places to go to register their kids as citizens. Hurricane Katrina destroyed my birth certificate, and that was 21 years ago. And at least 23 years to get a new one. Yeah, that's a lot of people that had their birth certificates destroyed in Hurricane Katrina. Not in the Air Force, but lived next to one my whole life. Family was in the Air Force and Navy. I thought about joining the Navy, but I didn't want my first name to be Seaman. So I thought about the Army, and they were like, "Oh, your ASVAB scores are really good. You could be a Ranger with that." And I said, "Rangers, don't they jump out of airplanes?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I went across the hall and joined the Air Force. I was like, "You're not going to make me jump out of an airplane, are you?" And they're like, "Not as long as it's working." And I was like, "Okay, sign me up." Chuck Norris, Air Force One. My parents were only given a certificate of birth in Pittsburgh. They were given a certificate of birth for me and my sister. I didn't know that I didn't have a birth certificate until I was in my 40s. Wow. I didn't know that there was a difference. Fair, LMAO. We are going on an international cruise. That's when you found out? So were you able to get a birth certificate with that? It's like, of course, it's only 1% of people, right? But still, 1% of voters, that ends up being a lot of people. And then, like Brett was saying, I was about to bring this up. My birth date was incorrect in the Social Security database due to scanning handwritten birth certificates to digital error. I didn't even know this until I was an adult trying to prove my identity. And they were looking up the wrong birth date. Well, they were looking at the right birth date, but the wrong birth date was categorized or something, right? They wouldn't accept my birth date when I tried to verify myself by answering their questions. What a bummer. It's like, no, we need the fake date. If people think costs are clogged up now, wait until all these people have to go to court to get, the courts. Yes, wait until all these people have to go to court to get recognized. It's just, and again, for what? For what reason? The certificate of birth was that the hospital provided to register my birth. Excuse me. So we're all caught up on the comments. So anyway, I think we'll end here. I gotta get the door anyway. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you on Monday. And sorry for such a short week. Talk to you later. Bye.